talked a lot about the political correctness that we believe is really killing not only America, but killing the pulpits, killing the church, killing what we believe, and really dictating to us what we are to believe. And so the minute you talk about something like Ebola that is now being driven by the ideas of politics, I think we're in deep trouble at this point in time. This is why we need strong leaders in our Congress, in our Senate, and of course in the White House, and in our state legislatures and our governorships. We need strong leaders who are willing to make stands on these issues that won't always be popular, especially in the face of a left-leaning media.
Well, Eric, the pulpit is the moral voice for this culture. And when you silence the moral voice and you've lost the basis of morality and right and wrong thinking, then you have nothing to hold up the republic. This is why George Washington, in his farewell address, said that the two primary pillars that hold up our republic are morality and religion, capital R. He meant Christianity. And he said, in vain would we try to have morality without religion. Well, we've swept both of those pillars out from under our republic today. Pastors have stood by silently and let it happen, so they're accomplices to the crime. And now we're wondering why our culture is collapsing. It has no columns to hold it up.
That is really true. When you look at history, it's been the pulpits who have given strength and who've also stood against the tyranny and other things that have come against us through the last 200 plus years. And, talk about tyranny. What would the Black Robe Regiment say if they could have seen the encroachment of ISIS or other Islamist threats?
Oh, good grief. In fact, Thomas Jefferson had been made a big deal made out of the fact that he had a Koran in his library. Well, that's because he was preparing to go to war with the Barbary pirates. And, of course, that's where part of our Marine hymn comes from today.
Exactly.
So we know what they were going to do, and they actually did it. They finally went over there and rescued those captured ships and sailors and sent a message very strong to those Muslims of that day that we will fight you if need be. And here we are today trying to make deals with them when their actual theology says that it's their job to lie. It's called taqiyya. It's their job to lie to advance their own philosophy. It's ridiculous. It boggles the mind that we can be this naive.
Most Americans don't know about Kitman and taqiyya, which is the idea of advancing Islam through deception or through outright lying, as you just mentioned. They don't know about that, but sadly, they also don't know that the first war we fought as a nation was that war on the coast of Africa to take back our ships, and that's, of course, as you pointed out, where the Marine Corps hymn has that line from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. That's exactly what that was all about. We're fighting the exact same thing again today, except part of our country has decided we want to try to placate those who will only take advantage of such placation.
No, you're exactly right, Eric. And the pulpit of the 18th century, this idea of separation of church and state, political correctness, this was so foreign to them. They allowed their lives to be governed by biblical principles. Even for those who were not born-again Christians, even those people had an abiding respect for the Bible and the God of the Bible, and they understood that someone's morality is going to rule. And so they determined that it would be biblical morality, and they lived by those things. Today, the Black Robe Regiment is non-existent. Now, I applaud these pastors in Houston for what they're doing, but pastors around the country have to begin to stand up, as their 18th century predecessors have already done, and say, no, and I'm going to preach the whole truth.
Larry, this is a great place to play the clip we have of Charles Finney. Why don't you play that right now?
Agree or disagree with Reverend Charles Finney? Well, he stated, "Brethren, our preaching will bear its legitimate fruits. If immorality prevails in the land, the fault is ours in a great degree. If there is decay of conscience, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the public press lacks moral discrimination, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the church is degenerate and worldly, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the world loses its interest in religion, the pulpit is responsible for it. If Satan rules in our halls of legislation, the pulpit is responsible for it. If our politics become so corrupt that the very foundations of our government are ready to fall away, friends, the pulpit is responsible for it.